So much of our lives happen online now. We work, we shop, we connect with people. It's all built on data. But there's a flip side to this digital world, a constant battle going on behind the scenes to keep all of that information safe. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and demystify cybersecurity, the thing that stands between your data and the people who want to get their hands on it.
So let's just start with a really direct question, one that has a surprisingly complicated answer. How safe is your digital life, really? I mean, every time you click a link, log into an app, or send a message, you're leaving behind a digital footprint. And protecting that footprint? Well, that's what this is all about.
And this picture right here, it gets to the heart of a really crucial truth. It honestly doesn't matter if you're just checking your personal bank account or if you're a huge corporation that's handling millions of customer records. To an attacker, everyone looks like a potential target. The game is totally changed, and just being aware of that is our very first line of defense. Which brings us right into our first section. See, if we want to understand how to protect ourselves, we first have to understand what we're up against. We need to get a clear picture of the threat itself. Just look at the sheer variety of ways things can go wrong. You've got phishing, which tries to trick you with these fake emails that look terrifyingly real, all to snatch your passwords. Then you have viruses and worms, which are basically digital germs that spread through networks and just wreak havoc. A denial of service attack is a little less sneaky. It's more like a brute force traffic jam designed to knock a website completely offline. But at the end of the day, all of these attacks, they all share the exact same goal: to take what isn't theirs. So how in the world do we fight back against all of that? Well, it all starts with a core concept, a foundational model that security pros have been using for decades. It's called the CIA triad, and it's pretty much the bedrock of all information security. First up, the C stands for confidentiality, and it's actually pretty simple. This is all about secrecy. It's about making sure your private information is only ever seen by people who are supposed to see it. Think about things like data encryption or two-factor authentication. Those are all tools we use to enforce confidentiality. Next up, we have I for integrity. Now, this pillar is all about trust. It's the guarantee that your data hasn't been secretly messed with or changed. So when you log in to check your bank balance, integrity is what ensures that the number you're seeing is the real number and not something an attacker has tweaked behind the scenes. And finally, we have A for availability. What this means is that when you're authorized to get to your information, you can actually, get to it. I mean, it's no good having perfectly secret and trustworthy data if the whole system is down all the time, right? Remember that denial of service attack we just talked about? That is a direct assault on availability. Okay. So now that we've got those core principles down, let's see how they get built into a real-world defense strategy. We're going to shift from theory to practice and talk about how you build a digital fortress, layer by protective layer. This is the perfect way to visualize a concept called defense in depth. Good security isn't just one big wall. It's more like a series of concentric rings, like layers of an onion. The whole idea is that if an attacker manages to breach one layer, they just run smack into another one. Your most valuable stuff, your critical assets, they sit right there in the center, protected by everything else. So let's walk through these layers, starting from the very core and working our way out. At the center, layer 1, you have your mission-critical assets. These are the crown jewels, the data you absolutely cannot lose. Layer 2 wraps that in data security, using things like encryption. Layer 3 is application security, making sure the software using that data is locked down. Layer 4 is endpoint security, which protects the actual devices, your laptop, your phone. Layer 5 is network security, which controls who gets onto your network in the first place. Layer 6 is perimeter security, things like firewalls. And finally, Layer 7, the outermost ring, is the human layer. It's the people whose training and awareness can be either the strongest or, frankly, the weakest part of the entire fortress. But having a strong defense isn't the whole story, because when those layers fail and a crime is actually committed, there have to be consequences. And that's where we move from the technical world into the legal one. As a great example, let's take a look at India, where the main law for this is the Information Technology Act of 2000.
And let me tell you, the IT Act has some real teeth. The punishments are no joke. Messing with computer source code under Section 65 can get you up to 3 years in prison. Hacking, under Section 66, carries a similar sentence but with an even bigger fine. And then there's Section 66F, which deals with cyber terrorism. And that carries the most severe penalty of all, life imprisonment. So yeah, this makes it crystal clear, digital crimes have very, very real-world consequences.
So how do investigators actually connect a digital crime to a criminal? Well, that's where the absolutely fascinating field of digital forensics comes into play. You can think of it as the science of uncovering and interpreting electronic data. Basically, being a detective for the digital world.
In this whole process, it's not random at all. It's a very highly structured life cycle. Investigators have to follow these steps with incredible care to turn a bunch of raw data from a hard drive or a phone into solid evidence that can actually be presented in a court of law. It's all about finding those digital fingerprints that people inevitably leave behind.
This process breaks down into 4 key stages. It all starts with collection, which is where data is carefully copied from devices without changing anything. Then comes examination, where investigators start sifting through all that data to find what's actually relevant. The analysis phase is where they really start connecting the dots, studying the information to figure out what happened. And finally, in the reporting stage, all those findings are documented in a super clear, methodical report that can stand up to serious legal scrutiny.
So we've covered the technology, we've covered the principles, we've even covered the law, but it all comes back to this one really powerful idea. A company can spend millions of dollars on the best firewalls and encryption in the world, but one person clicking on one bad link in an email can bring that entire system crashing down. The human element is, and it probably always will be, the biggest variable in the whole equation.
And that really brings us to our final thought. After everything we've talked about, from all those complex attacks to the deep forensic analysis, the ultimate question isn't really about the technology, is it? The biggest factor in your own security is you. It all boils down to awareness, to vigilance, and to the choices you make every single day you're online.